Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Ron. It is Monday, October 20th, a little after 6 p.m. So let's get started and see if we have any questions from anyone. Anybody? Questions, comments?
We had a question, I think, from yesterday.
Yes, sir. I did not see her number on. There's a reason I didn't bring it up, but I suppose we could still talk about it. The question involved I'll read it and let you decide how you're going to address it. Ask Pastor to elaborate on Africans from the continent versus Africans in America, in Africa, Africans in America and Africans in Africa, and why Puerto Ricans think they are better than us.
Um, okay, that's a multi. Those are multiple questions. Um, the reason, the difference between us and the Africans on the continent. I think the major difference. No, I know the major difference between us and Africans who are on the continent. Um, is have been, we were born in the midst or in the belly of the whale. And what I mean by that is we are descendants of enslaved Africans. And from the time that we were enslaved and brought to this country, Africa has been under the domination of the mindset of the Neanderthal. And when we came through the civil rights movement, there were those of us who recognized that we are African, and we called ourselves Africans. And then one day, Jesse Jackson was making a speech, and he had left a meeting with some of the people I work with. And during the course of that speech, he referenced us as African Americans. And as a result of that, he is given credit. Who cares about credit? But he was for making that, saying that we are African Americans without adding the context to it. We are African Americans because our roots are in Africa, but our bodies were birthed in America. And the Africans on the continent were indoctrinated by missionaries, by Christianity, missionaries, and Arab Muslims. And the indoctrination was that Black people in America were thieves and they were lazy and they were very dangerous. And over the years, the mindset of the Africans on the continent was molded through that indoctrination. In America, we were told that Africans were savages, they were dangerous, and they were inept when it came to running their affairs in Africa. We were also told that they hated us because we are not truly Africans. And by them telling us that we are not truly Africans, and at the same time, we were shown images only of people in the bush, half naked or naked, and always in a negative light. And the deepest indoctrination that we in this country received in relationship to Africans were two places. The first one of them was Tarzan, the white man who is the king of the jungle and able to defeat hundreds of Africans at will. The second one was the church, through missionaries having to go to Africa to Christianize or to save the heathens from going to hell. It was always the Africans who needed missionaries. And when you take those two forms of indoctrination and merge them, what you have in effect done is created a chasm between Africans in America and Africans in Africa. And that chasm was built upon over the years. And every time that there was a move toward unification, there was always intervention by the church and the government. And the intervention of the government was physical crackdowns on Africans on the continent of Africa. And in this country, it was the projections that they televised and the movies that they made, like Sweetback. And the movies that were made during the period of the civil rights were movies that depicted us as being drug dealers and killers. We were shown on these big screens to be criminals. But none of the true pictures of what was happening in America reached the multitude in Africa. So that mindset continued to flourish. Not to mention that when Africans were brought to this country or came to this country to further their education, they were told by the elite, their parents, not to associate with us because we were criminals and we were too dangerous to be around. And we were told in this country that Africans don't like you. We were told in this country that you're nappy-headed and you need bleach cream because you're too black. And we bought into that. And buying into that, deep in our psyche, was a shame of who we are, being ashamed of our hair, our lips, that kind of thing. So this continued and continues to this day, but is not as effective as it once was. And the reason it is not as effective is because the elites were the ones who were put in their positions by the colonizers and the imperialists. America were imperialists, and the rest of Europe were colonizers. And when the younger group of Africans came to this country, at some point, they've gone to interact with us. And they saw it to be a lie, and we saw it was a lie about what they were saying about Africans on the continent. As we begun to interact with them, my first major interaction with Africans from the continent was when I was in school. I went to school with quite a few. And the rejection that is publicized never took place at all. So now we are at a stage, and I am skipping a lot of stuff, but we're at the stage now where we are beginning to purge ourselves, not remedy separate the idea of separation, but purging ourselves of the lies that has kept us apart. And this became a major feat when we began to recognize, embrace, accept who we are as Africans in this country. And as we did that, we began to forge relationships spiritually. And there are things that happen spiritually that we paid little attention to until now. I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. The energy, well, let me say this first, and then I'll come back to the energy. When we were engaged in, well, let me stop. Are there any questions? I'm sorry. Are there any questions?
Yes, thank you. Could you describe or define what you mean by colonialist versus imperialist?
Oh, yes, ma'am. A colonizer is a country who goes into another country and force the people into submission in order to take everything that the people who occupy the land owns. And they set up military posts there as well as governmental control. That's what the colonizer does. The imperialist does not show their face in the country, meaning that they do not set up a governmental force in that country with their face being shown. The colonizer is also an occupier. And if you look at British colonies, you will see that the principles of Britain were carried out in those colonies. In the judicial system in those colonies, you had to wear the British wig when you were in court. And if you can imagine Africans with a white wig on their head, that was in itself ridiculous. But it represented the power behind that government in that country. And it was reinforced by resident governors, who were resident controllers of that particular country. France did the same thing. Germany did the same thing. Belgium did the same thing. America didn't. America set up puppet governments. They would overthrow any government that did not follow their dictates, and which means that they were imperialists. An imperialist does not have a physical a visible, I should say, presence, but they control it by pulling the strings from behind the scenes. So the difference between a colony and the colonizer and the imperialist is that the imperialists stay hidden, but at the same time control the country. The colonizer has a physical presence in the country at the same time that they are controlling it. And the reason that the language that is actually continental language in Africa is English. It is not English because Britain did it. It is English because America did it and demanded it. Even in the French colonies, English was the second language. They spoke English, except for those who were quote unquote peasants. Same thing happened in Haiti. So when we talk about the colonizer, we are talking about someone who controls, someone who pulls the levers inside of the country. When we talk about imperialists, we're talking about someone who is a puppeteer controlling the puppet, but you don't see the controller of the puppet. Does that make sense, Bob? Is that clear? Maybe I asked.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for raising that. I want to look at why the change is taking place so rapidly. If you do the research, Audrey, did you have a question?
No, I just got knocked off Zoom. I was trying to get back in.
Oh, okay. Okay. If you do the research, you will find that the boldness of the young Africans who said enough is enough to colonizer and the imperialists and stood their ground and begun to take control of the government in their countries, it coincides with the time period when we begun to delve deeply into the energy and divinity of Africans. So what was happening is the energy of Africans in America became the energy that revived the desire to rise in Africa. And if you think about it and look at the history, the Marcus Garvey came from, Jamaica. Why is it that Marcus Garvey could not have built a movement to liberate people of African descent while he was in Jamaica? Why was he not able to do that? Why is it that a large number of people who immigrated here from Jamaica were instrumental in the movement that sought to liberate us? They had to come to this country because this country was the seat of power until we reclaimed it. This country called the shots for all of Europe. Anything that America did not agree with, Europe, they ended it, the program. They embraced anything that America put forward because America became years ago the center of power on this earth. And it did not happen because America was chosen to be. It happened because America was being led by Neanderthals. And the European mindset had a kinship with that mindset. And America was the most brutal group of Europeans on earth. And they did not mind taking out or destroying anybody who challenged them. So the seat of European influence was in America. And that is one of the reasons they had the UN is in New York. It is because America controls global power. And that is a symbol of it. Even though the UN was actually brought into existence to solidify the control of Africa in particular, and countries of color in general. So, in order for us to come together, those of us who are in the diaspora, whether it is in America or any place else on this earth, other than on the continent, of course, in order for us to become one, the journey to becoming one, the journey to becoming the strongest power of divinity on earth had to start with the dismantling of the power in America. And one of the major things that happened to dismantle the power in America so that the walls between Africans on the continent and Africans in America could be torn down. Because the wedge was not between Africans in Britain or Africans in other places. The wedge between the Africans was between Africans in America and Africans on the continent. That was the primary divide. And in order for that wall to be torn down, someone had to begin to chip away at it. And our journey, we did not recognize that the power of the world was in the hands of the Africans, but the African did not embrace it, did not deal with it from a spiritual perspective. So, and we talked about this yesterday, so I won't go back into that. Obama became president. That's when the chipping at the wall started. The reason I say that it started with Obama is because in order for the system to be brought down, everything behind the scenes in the system had to come to the light. And when Obama became president, the Tea Party rose its head. And the Tea Party is now MAGA. And the purpose was for them to expose everything so that the Africans in this country, in particular, could begin to see what they knew all along, but nobody paid any attention to. And that is the mentality, the energy of the enslavers still ruled this country and the world. So there was a comparison made. After Obama came Trump, and Trump did not know how to use the levers of government. And the people who knew how, he disagreed with them, but he did not know how to defeat them and do what he wanted to do. So Biden came in, and we saw a Democrat European in office. And now here comes Trump. And we see Trump in office and compare it to Biden, and nothing changed for us between the two. So that is a head-to-head comparison of the Neanderthal mindset that has been ruling the world. And we made a decision to reclaim the energy that they used as their power base. And then we started seeing things and connecting dots that we had never connected before. And even with Kamala Harris, we were disappointed because she didn't win until Kathy brought the message concerning, no, we're not defeated. And we saw that this was not the end game, her being elected. And in the last couple of days, what I have seen is that Kamala Harris was put in place to run for president under circumstances that has never taken place in this country, which means it should not have happened with one of us, especially a female. And we saw how much money she raised. We saw how many people lied about supporting her. We saw all of that. We saw black men supporting Trump because they wanted some more money, which is totally ignorant, but they did that. 81% of African males voted for Kamala. The rest of them either didn't vote or voted for Trump. So what is so important about Kamala being there and not winning the election? It was never intended for her to win the election because femininity of African descent could not be put in a place where she birthed all of the barbaric principles of this nation, of this country rather. So why was she put in the race? Kamala Harris represented, and still does, the unification of African women in America, if nowhere else, but definitely in America. African women have never been as organized without having to organize as they are now in America. And what dawned on me as I was being shown this, someone spoke to me and said, what is 9 and 2? And immediately I recognized that they were speaking about 92% of African women in America voted for Kamala Harris, and 9 and 2 is 11. So what she actually did, her purpose was ignite or to release the energy of femininity in this country. And 9 and 2 is 11. And what she actually did was open the door for African femininity, for the divine femininity of the African to surge. And that femininity has surged and still surges. And the colonizer, the European, the mindset of the Neanderthal went after African women in this country first and looked at the departments in government where there were a large number of African women employed. And in less than 6 months, 3 months into the presidency, over 300,000 African women were unemployed. That was an effort to denigrate them, to cause them to struggle to the point where they were not focused on what must be done. And they are not consciously focused on it, but the idea of their focus being on change for our people and understanding what was being done to them, that change was necessary so that we could go through the gateway of 11. We could go through that gateway guided by, birthed by the energy of African femininity. She is the womb that birthed where we are now. She is the womb from which the power or the opening of the eye of African females took place. She is the magnet that drew African females together and to speak with 91% of them speaking with the same voice. We have carried the burden for our people all of these years. We're not asking for recognition or a pat on the back. We are saying, we are demanding that we are going to be who we were created to be. And that is the keepers of the soul of Africans. And African men can come along or they can sit there by themselves, but we are moving. And 81% of African males voted for her, which means that masculinity at a lower degree but strong enough answered the call. And that call is to make sure that femininity is protected. And if you think about it, there has been a greater surge of men of African descent defending African females than ever before in this country. Any questions before I continue? Comments? Am I clear? Is there anything that need to be clarified?
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Um, you said that there was no change between Trump and Biden,
Yes,
but then you said that under Trump, all those women were unemployed.
yes.
Isn't that kind of a major change?
What I'm talking about is this. Under Joe Biden, nothing changed for our people that would cause us to progress beyond where we were 50 years ago. Biden didn't do anything to defend the Voting Rights Act when they first gutted it. He spent all of his capital on this Build Back Better program, the infrastructure. That's the first thing that he spent his capital on, which means that he spent his capital on a program that was going to further enrich the already rich because they're the ones who benefited from it.
Okay, so you're just saying that he just let the status quo be the status quo and just let it ride. He didn't really do anything.
He didn't do right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, okay, I see.
And he did not choose Kamala Harris because he wanted to. He was no different with a black woman than Trump is. Anita Hill versus Thomas, and Biden presided, and he ridiculed that woman and did not seek to apologize to her until the day before that he announced that he was going to run for the presidency. And he still was not going to choose an African woman until he got to South Carolina. And what's his name? In the House.
Clyburn?
Clyburn told Biden that his endorsement came with him choosing a woman of African descent for his vice president. That's why he chose Kamala, because Kamala was a safe bet. And to help you to understand what I mean by that, I remember sitting in a wasn't really a meeting, but a gathering, because every time we get together, we talk about stuff in DC. And we were talking about Kamala Harris, that Kamala Harris would be the strongest, a strong attorney general. And when a vacancy came, appoint her to the Supreme Court because she could do great things from that bench. None of us believed that Kamala Harris had the political strength to be a vice president or a president for that matter. The ancestor hid her and her skills until the right time. If she had ran for president at the beginning, she would have gotten pushed out because they still had the authority that we reclaimed recently. She had to come in a manner that was totally different than anyone who ever ran in a primary for the presidency. Does that help you, Art? Or are we on the same page?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
So then Kamala Harris was kind of an Esther.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. I would say that. That's the same, that's the energy.
Energy. Okay.
Yes. Now, what does that have to do with the original question? The throne or the center of the divine energy of the cosmic mother was with her children who have been disgraced, dehumanized, beaten down, on the verge of not existing in this land, being lynched, everything they tried to build burned down, everything destroyed. So that energy was more with us because we did not know it. But the scripture said, God said, I will bring you back to me even if I have to carry you across the great river in chains. And we saw that differently than what we see it now. The Creator was saying that if I have to bring you to a place to force you to see who you are, I will do it. And if it's slavery, you are going to be enslaved. If that's what it takes. And guess what? That's what it has taken. We did not embrace or hold on to who we knew we were. And now, here we are. Because of the tears of our ancestors, because of the blood of our ancestors, because the pain and suffering of our ancestors, because of the rape of the women and men by the enslavers, and the pain that they carry because of all of these things, we have been bred like animals. The cosmic mother grieved for us, but her children, who are representatives of the feminine energy, carried the load, a load that was too heavy for anybody to bear, but they bore it anyway. And when they felt they couldn't do any more, the ancestors who had gone before them gave them the strength to do it. And because of the obedience that a group of people who really never was accepted because of the questions we raised, this group of people made a decision to understand who we are outside of what Christianity had told us we are. And because of that decision, the foundation was laid for the return of the African, the divine energy of the African. The foundation was laid for it to return to its rightful place. That could not happen until we begun to understand and embrace the divine nature of the female. And I'm talking about African men who had embraced the Neanderthals mindset when it came to women. Prior to Europeans coming in contact with the African and with other cultures, every single culture recognized the divinity of femininity. this masculine control never played a role like it does now in the mindset of the African. And because of that birthing, we see a move that we have never experienced before. Again, 92% is a message. The cosmic energy, the cosmic creator is in the place where it's supposed to be, because the gates have been opened for the deliverance of those who have lived under the power or under the pseudo power of a God that they created. A God that only African people and church believes in. When Tony Evans can say that the white church is too Republican and that the Southern Baptists did not say anything, they didn't raise their voices when we were being lynched. And that is why we're where we are today. I never dreamed that I would ever hear Tony Evans say that. And I thank Ron for sending me that. That voice,
Who is Tony Evans?
Tony Evans with Dobson, what's the name of his organization?
Ah, yeah.
Focus on the family.
Focus on the Family. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, Focus on the Family. And when Dobson died, Tony Evans was moved to the helm of it. I never thought I would ever hear that coming from him, an African preacher. But when I heard it, my soul leapt, because a voice for the enslaver had become a voice for those who were enslaved without even knowing it. What Tony Evans did was throw off the shackles of our people who embraced the Southern Baptist principles, as well as the principles of focus on the family and all groups like that, Charlie Kirk included. So the energy of the feminine energy that was brought to bear during Kamala's run for president is the energy that protects the soul of the African, not only in this country, America, but the soul of the Africans worldwide. And the push now is coming from masculinity. And that push that's coming from masculinity is to protect the people that they cover, that they lead. And emphasis is put on the elevation of femininity in those areas. Is it total? No, it's not. It isn't. But just like our eye had to be open, so does the eye of Africans everywhere. And I'm saying to you, that Africa is not only rising, it is waking up. And I'm saying to you that Africans all over the world is awake or waking up. And there's enough of us who are totally awake to help awaken those who are still asleep. And do understand that there will be those who don't want to be awakened.
Yeah.
There will be those who would like this black dude that I saw this video today, Tabitha, and she played a clip of this black man saying how much he hated being black, and blacks had no talent other than in sports, and we never produced anything and other than criminality. And he went on and on and on. And then he said, and I'm going out to be public with it. That was him talking about No More Kings March. And when he went out there to be public with it, I would not have wanted to be in his shoes because it didn't turn out well at all for him. And the heck of it is this: the ones who laid hands on him were not arrested, but he was. Think about that. He was arrested. What does that say? Black man, you had no business out here. And they arrested him, but they did not arrest the people who laid hands on him. And it was not the police who did it. South Carolina, a white woman was arrested in Myrtle Beach because she pointed a gun at the marchers. And they arrested her. She is a MAGA person. And she was arrested they gave her a $100,000 bond for brandishing a gun. I'm saying that on both sides, white people and white women in particular have to suffer. They have to understand the pain that they have caused. Why do I say white women in particular? Because white men could not do what they did and are doing if it were not for the aid of white women. White women have always lied about how they support us. And they do until they get home or get in that voting booth. It's lip service. So the last part I want to say about this is a reminder to you. Do not allow the hands of in this country that calls itself authority. Do not allow it to anger you to the point where you feel like you have to get out in the street and do something. That's why they're attacking our people. ICE. That's why they were handcuffing our children to make us get in those streets. That's not going to happen because that 91% has said so. Questions or comments? I hope I answered the question of the person who asked it. If not, send Ron another text. What is it, Audrey?
No, I was just laughing at you saying send Ron another text.
Oh, African women, thank you. Thank you for embracing the energy that you are. But more importantly, thank you for bearing the burden when there was no one but you to bury. Yes, King was in the street. Yes, Abernathy was in the street. Yes, Jesse Jackson was in the street. Yes, all of us were in the street doing things. But what you never saw is this. None of us would have been in the street if it had not been for African women supporting us and helping us do what we did and actually correcting us. And the reason they were behind the scenes is because all of us had been lied to about the position of masculinity. All of us had been lied to. It's not about domination. It's about equalization. We are balanced. And balance does not mean we are 50-50. Balance means that we are in the space that we were created to occupy. That's all it means. Questions, comments? Well, to everyone who's part of this session, is it clear to you guys?
Yes.
Got you, George.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it comes.
Okay. George.
Yeah, Pastor, I just want to say ashe to the cosmic mother and to our African women. You spoke of 11, and 11 spiritually talks about the importance where it symbolizes enlightenment and inspiration. Tonight, we experience that, the inspiration of knowing and receiving that energy, which taps into the importance of vibrational frequency, where you spoke about balance. And balance, I think we talked about before, and you said it, and also Nick, that is not that it's 50-50, but is what needs to be done to be able to empower one another to realize the importance of the time and season that we're in. There was another 11, 11, 11 when the teachers met. And again, just so much spiritual inspiration and enlightenment was shared that, we spoke about the importance of several spiritual time that we spent together. And I think the night is not the night to necessarily go into that, but there was the recording and the writings, that Barbara had written. Periodically, I go back and I like to look at that because it talks about, a new heaven and a new earth. It talks about some concepts that I think are tying our beginning together in a way that we can see it in the spiritual realm that we're searching for now. So I just wanted to share those thoughts about 11 being the gateway, but more importantly, the importance of us understanding what it means during these times and seasons. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. The scripture talks about something. The scripture talks about the lady who was in the temple or synagogue. I don't know which one of those. And she gave her last denaro. In other words, she gave the last that she had. And the moral of that giving was she gave her last. She gave just as much, if not more, than anyone in here. So what am I saying? When we take that and we apply balance to it, balance is not based on whether I gave more than Audrey or Audrey gave more than George. Balance is based on you giving your all, period. And no one can beat you doing your best. Nobody can do better than you when you've done your best. On this journey, the best of us is nothing short of this journey being our first priority. We can't be balanced ourselves without prioritizing.
Hmm.
When I came in today from Phoebe's appointment, I walked into the room I'm in now, and the energy that I felt was stronger than it usually is when I walk into the room. Someone said to me, because our ancestors are not things, they are Elohim. Light the candle. I was led to buy that candle 2 days ago. And I have a candle holder, which is an African female with a candle holder. She's holding up the light. And usually I will do that, meditate, and blow the candle out. I could not meditate. The voice said, leave the room. And I left. And the candle has been burning since. And when I came back into the room, the candle had been burning for hours. And I attempted to blow it out twice, one blaze, and it didn't move. And that same voice says, leave it where it is. It's not time yet. Why am I sharing this with you? Because I felt I needed to. Why did I need to? I don't know. But I do feel like the ancestors are saying, we are the light bearers. You're in a human body. You are light, but you can't always see it. Even when you feel like you're in darkness, when you feel like you're alone, I'm always there. You're never alone. We are always maintaining the light for you. That feminine energy, that feminine light is the light. We talk about birthing things. That is the light that guides us on this journey. Not because we are perfect in terms of perfection in our vernacular in the earth, but guides us all the time because it knows our heart, our demands, our agonies, our pains. Even when you sit to meditate and nothing comes, you just get agitated with it. It's okay. The cosmic mother never has forgotten her children. She leaves her children in the dark, but she doesn't blind her children. The darkness that she leaves her children in is the darkness of wisdom. When there are things going on in your life that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you feel like there is no way forward, that makes you feel like this is the end. I don't know where to turn. Stop trying to turn and just sit down. In every dilemma we face, there is a lesson in it. There is no punishment. That is the reason that Africans did not whip their kids until the whip was laid on us. That's the reason there were no prisons. Because we have been taught that there is no such thing as punishment. This thing called the devil was created. It is not real. Punishment, rather than it being punishment, it is a lesson to be learned if you be still long enough. The things that they tell you you're going to hell for. Oh my God, really? There is no hell for you to go to, but it is hell for you to go through. Which means that there is no such thing as a continuous hell. Our ancestors, our creative womb, is embracing us because of the courage that it has taken to move away from something that you have embraced all of your life. And I say to you this evening, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard what's in store for you. Eyes have not seen, the eye has not seen what's in store for humanity. The ear has not heard it because it takes time to embrace who you are and prioritize it to the extent that nothing comes before our journey. And that is the reason we say we don't know what it's going to look like. We're not trying to shape it. That is not something we thought of. That was something that was given to us for us to understand that we have not seen what the spiritual essence of our being has brought into existence. Neither have we heard the wisdom that will guide us through and help us to see the change manifested. We have an obligation to stand fast and to remind ourselves that I am God. Do you do that? Do you remind yourself who you are? In the beginning, it feels uncomfortable. But it gets to the place where there's no problem with it. And your life becomes different. I'm done for now. Are there words to be spoken? Are there questions to be raised?
Marsha.
Ashe.
Sure.
Shay.
Marsha.
I am so grateful. So grateful that we see the truth of our origin. I'm so grateful that we see the truth about the substance, the energy that stabilizes us and give us the divine power to do the right thing. My desire this evening for the whole of humanity to raise a question about everything they have been taught. My desire is for humanity to know, to come to the reality that everything is a lie until you embrace the reality of who you are. I'm done. All right.
Well,
What, Audrey?
just to comment, everything is a lie when you're not acting out of who you really are, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you said that because immediately something came to me. If you don't walk in divinity, you're living a lie. And we talked so many times, before we even started this journey, about people who live a lie because they don't want to face the truth. How can you face the truth when you don't know who you are? So yes,
Yeah.
we have been living the lie. And there are those who will not embrace who they are still living the lie. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good energy tonight.
Thank you. Thank all of you guys for your presence and those who are not even on tonight, whose energy strengthens what we do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, have a good evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.